Mayor Blanks?
Yes.
In the absence of Reverend Norman, would you please be prepared to lead us in prayer and the pledge?
I can.
When we come to that, I would certainly appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, with that, let me call the meeting to order. This will be a special call meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for Tuesday, December the 22nd, 2020. It will be at 5:30 by Zoom, and I am located in the Tullahoma Municipal Building. I'll read the following statement justifying the need for the Zoom meeting tonight. Due to the COVID-19 emergency, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen will conduct its essential business by electronic means rather than being required to gather a quorum of members physically present in the same location, because it is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans. This meeting is in compliance with Governor's Executive Order number 65. So with that, we'll do a roll call, and I'll ask the City Recorder, Ms. Crabtree, would you please do a roll call?
Yes, this is a special call reading to the Aldermen of the City of Tullahoma. You and each of you are hereby notified that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the Beer Board of the City of Tullahoma, Tennessee is called to meet in a special call session on Tuesday, December 22nd, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom for the purpose of considering the following. 1, approval of agenda items, and 2, for the purpose of transacting any other business that may lawfully come before the board and waive any and all irregularities of same. Roll call, please. Mayor Ray Noes.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Blanks.
Here.
Alderman Almacher.
Here.
Alderman Berry.
Here.
Alderman Blackwell.
Here.
Alderman Dunn.
Here.
Alderman McGee. Alderman McGee.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Now I can. Yes, and that's 7 present. Thank you so much.
Thank you. With the invocation now, in the absence of Reverend Norman, Mayor Pro Tem Blanks, would you please lead us in the prayer and the following with the pledge? Please stand.
Go bow with me, please. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for our many blessings. Father, this has been a long year, long 2020. Hopefully, the light at the end of the tunnel. We have a vaccine on the horizon. It's going to the arms of first responders as we speak. We have people that have had COVID that don't have an immunity. So we pray that 2021 will be a better year. Father, we've had a lot going on in this city in the last 6 months. Pray that we as a board can make wise decisions. Please give us wisdom. Please give us the ability to know when to say things and when to keep our mouth shut. Dear Lord, that's hard for me. Help me. Father, be with the mayor, Noes, as he leads this city. Also Mrs. Moody as she helps administrate things. And my other colleagues, I pray for them that we do things which are right for the city of Telehoma, not always just for our personal agenda. I don't think we ran for that purpose, but, lay your hand on us and give us the wisdom we can do the things that we need to do, speak when we need to speak, and keep our mouth shut when we need to keep our mouth shut. Father, I know we have a lot of people online with us tonight. Pray that they will also listen, be slow to speak and slow to anger, and try to walk in somebody else's shoes sometimes and wear a different pair of glasses and see somebody else's perspective. Sometimes it's not always our own. Father, we ask all these things in your name. Amen. If you'll put your hand over your heart. I don't have a flag in my office here, but I think Mr. Sandlin had one. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Blanks.
Welcome.
This evening we have some commendations, and I believe Ms. Moody is prepared for a commendation.
I do. Unfortunately, I don't think that David Jernigan was able to join us on tonight's Zoom meeting. So I can read his nomination, or we could save this for January and just recognize our employees at that time. What do you prefer? Mayor, would you like me to recognize our employee of the month in his absence, or defer this until January?
Let's go ahead and read it now.
Okay. Well, our employee of the month is David Jernigan. He is our IT manager. As you know, he's sort of a one-stop shop. We only have one IT person for all of our city departments, and he does a tremendous job. Has really upgraded our infrastructure and puts out fires all day long. He has been nominated by two different co-workers. First, he was recommended based on the Safety and Wellness Committee. They wanted to recognize David especially for his handling of helping so many people with teleworking and remote working during the pandemic. And of course, we all had to face kind of unexpected issues that come along with that. And he's been a great resource too of helping us with IT security and being more and more aware of phishing scams and things like that. And then the police department, they wanted to nominate David. They said he's really taken ownership of his part of the construction of the new police department, as well as other projects that they've tasked him with getting done. He's always eager to help when contacted about potential issues, always keeps a pleasant attitude and a calm demeanor regardless of the circumstances. His work on the new police department project and attention to detail has set up the new department to be secure and flexible when it comes to any new technology coming our way in the years ahead. His leadership in IT and his dedication to his craft have also saved the city thousands of dollars by doing most of the building in-house. And that's true. If you had been here, especially some of the hottest parts of this summer, David, with the help of one of our part-time finance employees, Christopher, he was pulling lines and running fiber throughout that entire building, setting up the infrastructure for that new building, and, doing a great job. So it's really been wonderful to work with him. And I know he's very passionate about his job. He enjoys it, and he knows our infrastructure inside and out. He's built a lot of it with his own two hands. So we're proud of him and appreciate him. Thank you.
Certainly well deserved. He's a go-to guy for when we need IT support. Tonight we have on the agenda we have comments from our citizens, and to begin the comments from the citizens, we've had some, due to the rescheduling of the meeting tonight, we've had some people who sent in comments that would like to have them read into the record. Ms. Moody has those comments, and at this time, well, let's get those out of the way first, the comments from the people who wanted their comments read into the record. So, Ms. Moody, I'll let you read those into the record from the citizens.
Okay. The first comment that we have is from Ernie Hobbs with the business Tennessee Homes here in Tullahoma. And he said, Mayor and Board of Aldermen, I own multiple properties in the city limits of Tullahoma, 1014 East Lauderdale Street, and he wanted these comments shared tonight. He said, when I went to the TN.gov website to get the email address to send this, I noticed something astonishing. There are 11 citizen commissions listed on the right side of the page. 11. That alone should speak volumes that no more bureaucracy is needed. My thoughts on the council are as follows. First, while the mayor and aldermen are not full-time employees of the city, there are full-time employees of the city who are accessible through a variety of communication means, who can listen to those who feel underrepresented and would like their concerns addressed. In addition, my experience as a Telehoma citizen is that if I granted the mayor and an alderman a little patience, I received a response to any concern I've had. It makes me sad that some feel their concerns are not heard nor addressed, but it is difficult for me to believe if they are voicing their concerns to the city and waiting patiently for a response. Number 2, this is America. We are a country of diversity and inclusion. No, we are not perfect, but that is a part of the human race in general. There will be mistakes and errors, but we can all learn from those mishaps. I think the presupposition that there is a problem, but the reality is that there's not a historical issue. Confirmed data is needed to demonstrate the problem to the public. Number 3, the council appears to be well-intentioned on the surface, but it smells of a lobbyist group that wants to bully with special interest and influence on the local government body. This is a slippery slope. If this group is accepted as a governmental sanction committee, the group will step up next and want to become sanctioned. 4th, we are Tennesseans. I like the ideas and lifestyle we have here. This push to form more bureaucracy is, in my opinion, a liberal socialist idea. Government to govern government does not work. Just look at the West Coast right now. Let's do small, efficient government for this community and let those who feel underrepresented step forward and make their concerns known. This council should not be part of the city government and truthfully should not be formed at all.
Thank you. And do you have any others to be read into the record?
I do have some others that were expecting to speak tonight. I wanted to see if Miss Maureen Burke is available to speak or if I need to read her comments.
I am here. Sorry, this is not working real well. Okay, let me get the video on. Okay, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I would like to thank the mayor and board for all that you do for the city. First of all, you probably don't get that often enough, and we're not here to complain, but just to give you our view as citizens of Tullahoma. So the issues surrounding diversity and inclusion are social, not a government issue. Our system already allows for equal representation, and just looking here at the board and the composition demonstrates that we do have a variety of genders and diversities serving our city. Only a couple city board members attended the July kickoff meeting where the proposed diversity council seemed to focus not on ethnic and gender differences, but more on cultural issues, as if the thinking of the people, even the culture in Tullahoma, needed to change. Sensitivity training for validating LGBTQ lifestyles, changing historical markers, and education were among the proposed solutions to this fabricated problem in our community. The American culture is founded upon freedom, individuality, and a transcendent law above the state that protects an objective standard of truth, or a belief about how society should operate. Within American culture, the city of Tullahoma has a unique identity that has been founded on historical events and people who have lived through those past realities. What makes our community a choice place to live is the unity of values, rich history, and heritage, along with generous and loving people of all backgrounds. I am not a native, but I have chosen to live here for the past 18 years because I don't want to live in a California culture with California values. I am blessed to have raised my children here and call this city my home. What is distressing is that the implementation of this proposed diversity council has done nothing but divide people in our city. We have been unduly separated by being forced to take sides. The local media has falsified what occurred in this room 2 weeks ago, which was a civil, respectful conversation. Not one person is opposed to the proper use of the term diversity, which already exists by the nature of the people in our community, and equal opportunity that is available to all. If this city-sponsored diversity council moves forward, we can expect to see more division. So my questions to the mayor and board are you willing to adopt a city-sponsored council which is not within the scope of government and intends to use taxpayer funds to grant special privilege to those who don't hold to our basic values? Are you willing to risk impacting the whole community by participating in change to our long-established culture and identity? Compromise should not be an option. We're asking you to abandon consideration of the proposed diversity council, lest you open the door to unintended consequences. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Berg. Do you have any others who have indicated they'd like to speak? Ms. Moody?
I do. I know of at least two others. Greg Sandlin.
Okay.
Okay, and I see.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Am I coming through?
Yes.
All right. I emailed these comments, but I wanted to read them. Mayor and board, I had the privilege of attending and offering comments at the December 2nd Diversity Council study session meeting. And after thinking over some of the comments made by proponents of this city-sponsored Diversity Council, I realized that as a former alderman, I had every right to feel offended. Myself and every mayor or alderman that has served in the past, the narrative being crafted is basically some of our citizens feel underrepresented, they're afraid of government, and they don't feel like their concerns will be heard, much less acted upon. And when I was an alderman, I was easily accessible. I was open to discussions with every citizen who wanted to talk. It would have not been hard to find me, and it's not hard to find you, the current board. I believe that we do not need a diversity enforcement arm of the city. We have this board. You are the Diversity Council, and you were elected to represent all the citizens of Tullahoma. And this current board is quite diverse, as has already been described. So I just challenge you to do your job. Be accessible, be transparent to all the citizens of Tullahoma. I'm actually quite sure that you already are, doing your jobs well. So just keep up the good work. And don't distract or divide us with a city-sponsored diversity council. Don't create this ongoing controversy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sandlin. Are there others who would like to speak?
Yes, Pastor Torber.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor. And can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and the Board of Aldermen, and to the citizens of Tullahoma. I want to read this prepared statement that I have also emailed to our city administrator as well to go into our records, the city records. I rise today virtually to bring attention to a serious matter that we are faced with here in Tullahoma. I have been a local pastor here for 13 and a half years, and I have experienced the best of Tullahoma, the wonderful community that cares and comes to the aid of others. In an amazing display just this past weekend, our church partnered with Mr. and Mrs. Jeff Dameron to pass out 50 hams and 48 turkeys to our community. And we just stopped by people's homes to share and hand out meats for the holiday season. That was a beautiful display. In addition to the turkeys and hams, we partnered with a local nonprofit, Graham's House, and we assisted in distributing toys and gifts to over 240 children. While Tullahoma has an amazing, generous side to her, this community has a blight that boards on broken windows can't contain. This blight is not from tax reverted properties, nor is it from the grass that has grown too high. The blight is to have a person sitting on our board of aldermen for this fine city engrossed in racist rhetoric and humiliating racist actions. Then that same said person goes live on social media to say it was a joke. I don't know about you, Mayor, Board of Aldermen, citizens of Tullahoma, but I believe Tullahoma does not have time for a city representative or alder person to be a social media star or a comedian. In fact, that's the last thing we need in this critical stage of life. Free speech is not to negate decency, respect, and sensitivity to the ugly side of the American history. Or better yet, let me remind you, because we are only 50 years from the laws being changed, but just a few days from hearts showing no conviction. Let me say this: Black women were isolated and raped and were property of slave masters. They were made to breed as if they were cattle on a farm, fish on a pond, or dogs in a kennel. Black women had to hold down communities and families while working sun up to sundown in fields for no pay, and not just little pay. And never did they ever receive a thank you. Sociologically, it is impossible for a Black woman to be racist because she has only recently, and we're saying in the past 60 years, been afforded the opportunity to rise, if I may quote Maya Angelou. So it is of no consequence and with no negotiation that we demand, request, and require that Miss Jenna Amacher duly resign or be removed from the board of city aldermen, because clearly when they were giving American history lessons, she showed up for the years of 1861 through 1865, but skipped the classes when the instructor covered 1620 through 1908. Which was the last recorded government-sanctioned slave auction or action on indigenous African people. Clearly, she missed the second semester of Jim Crow laws and the plight of systemic racism and the N-word, that were used to control a population. Clearly, she missed the pangs of being a Black woman, since she can readily identify as one and think it is cute. No, it's not cute. It's blatant racism and should not and will not be tolerated for someone who has been elected to represent all people. But we don't think it's socially and culturally acceptable to decry falsely a narrative, lynching some people with her actions, words, and philosophical musings. To see her use the N-word with no reflexive remorse or an oops, or being a person with a jurisprudence background, it should have alerted her that her conversations would be captured and supervised. But yet, however, her reckless cavalier attitude proved that she is not fit to represent all Tullahomians. That's why thousands of residents of Tullahoma makes it very plain that either she acknowledges her error by stepping down and resigning within the next 30 days, or, according to scripture, those in Matthew 11:12, the kingdom has suffered violence, and those who have been violated shall take it by force. We rise to say, resign, or we'll put pressure and move forward to seeing a resignation or a resolve of this matter. We are mobilized and ready to see that she is no longer representing the beauty and the best of Tullahoma by spreading what is historically the worst of America. And, oh yes, I approve this message.
If there are others who would like to speak, we surely will be granted the opportunity. I would ask that you limit your time or we will not get to everyone. So please be respectful of everyone's time. So are there others who'd like to speak?
Mayor, I see a woman, Marie, with
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I have a lot to say, but like you said, I'm going to keep it short and straight to the point. First, I just want to say, has there ever been this much of a stink for a city Tullahoma alderman? Probably not. This just goes to show that there is a problem. There's so many people that are able and willing to reach out and express how they feel about Jenna being alderman. Let's see. Telehoma is embarrassed by her unethical behavior. That's the word I chose, embarrassed. Not only has she been biased to anyone besides her fellow Republicans, but has also blocked more than half of her fellow constituents from her social media, which is by law illegal. She's not supposed to censor the public. Jenna blatantly spews racist and unethical comments, such as liberalism is a mental disorder, daily on her social media. Mental illness is not a term that should be used to create parallels of fuel for your arguments. It's a serious topic, and statements like those only worsen the stigma that surrounds it. As a citizen of Telehoma, it concerns me that our alderman shows such lack of empathy towards mental health, people of color, and individuals who practice different religions and or political practices than herself. It concerns me that someone who holds such a high political position in my community constantly posts unprofessional and uncivil posts on her social media. Also, that she be able to share conspiracy theories and fake news. Not news coming from our doctors and scientists, but what she feels as though is the truth. She does not represent me or the greater good of Telehoma, and I'm asking that Jenna resign or be removed from her position. Thank you.
Okay. Are there others? Is there anyone else who would care to speak? I see someone with their hands up.
I just wanted to, is there a way we can know for sure for people at home how they could have emailed, like what specifically could they have said to make sure that their letter was read before the board tonight?
We asked for written comments to be submitted to the mayor@tullahomatn.gov email address. Obviously, if they would have reached out through any email address, it should have been forwarded to me to read. We have been receiving many comments. They have not necessarily asked to be read, but to be shared with you all. And another way, they could have called or mailed, actual mail to City Hall. And then, of course, we'll take comments anytime going forward, and we'll have public comments like we do at every meeting. So we'll have the next regular meeting is January 11th.
So I'm clear. So if someone wanted that read before the board tonight, it should have said specifically, I would like my comments read before and included in the minutes. Is that correct?
Yes. And some I'd have responded and asked them directly if they wanted their comments read.
I will comment that all the comments that have been submitted have been reviewed by myself and Ms. Moody, and they have been forwarded to the chair of the study committee, Dr. Blanks. So they've been pretty thoroughly vetted. Okay. Let me make one other comment about the availability of making comments. We are going to have our next regular board meeting on January the 9th. That will be a Zoom meeting as well, but we will be making proper notice, and we will be advising that citizens wishing to have their comments included, that they will be given an opportunity to do that at that time. That's on January the 11th, when we will have our next board meeting, Monday night. So this was, if someone was unavailable for some reason to appear tonight to make their comments, we're giving them an opportunity to do that on January the 11th. The last thing we want to do is to disenfranchise anyone from the ability to be heard. So we'll make that clear. If that concludes the comments from the citizens, and thank you to everyone who has made comments tonight. It's greatly appreciated. And now we'll have reports from the members of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And with that, I will say that, with respect, we're going to have a study session after our regular board meeting tonight regarding the Diversity Council, Diversity and Inclusion Council. So I would suggest for the board members to reserve, did not use their time tonight for that. We'll have a study session later. Okay, with that, we'll start with Alderman McGee. Would you care to give your report tonight? And I would like to remind you that we'll keep it to the activities associated with your assignments.
Can you hear me? I put on my headset. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let me start with, I attended the Veterans Day program at the Caboose Park, which I thoroughly enjoyed. It was a nice turnout from the people in our city. I've also, in the month of November, volunteered at Dameron's, Come to the Table, and I also donated coats. As you all know, that I'm currently having a coat drive for children or families who need coats for their children. I attended also in November the TAEDC strategic planning meeting, but I did not get a chance to attend the monthly meeting on December 1 due to obligations on my job. I also attended an orientation at City Hall and was able to tour the airport and the Telehoma Fire Station number 2, which I really enjoyed. The airport is gorgeous on the inside. I also attended the Culture Through Our Eyes at the Tullahoma Fine Arts Center. I attended the Housing Authority meeting in November as well. I volunteered at the Wobble Gobble, participated in the virtual tour of homes for Telehoma Daycare. I was able to sing with some of my former THS singers, and I also sang a solo. I participated in the Christmas parade with some of the students from Tullahoma City schools, and we were Alderman Cernobia McGee and the Candyland Gang, and we placed second, so I'm very proud of that. Also attended one of the elementary school basketball games to see some of the kids in action, and some of those kids look like they've been playing for many, many years. I also toured Tullahoma Fine Arts Center. The Christmas display is beautiful. If you've not seen it, I encourage you to do so. Tullahoma Housing Authority, they canceled their December monthly meeting. We will have our meeting next month. As I said earlier, the coat drive that I'm currently doing has been very successful. I've donated coats to Tullahoma Daycare Center. Like I said earlier, I've donated coats to Dameron's Restaurant, to the Good Samaritan, and to local children. And I've donated approximately 200 or more coats to children needing coats to keep them warm this winter. And that is my report.
You've been a busy Alderman McGee.
Thank you.
Alderman Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to let people know that our next Go Green meeting will be held via Zoom. So if anybody's wanting to attend that meeting, they can email me at aldermandunn@tullahomatn.gov, and I'd be happy to include you in that. That is, of course, open to the public. And we also want to remind folks that one of our number one recyclable commodities is cardboard. So I know a lot of folks are receiving packages in the mail right now, and it's pretty easy to recycle cardboard. All you have to do is you can put it in a container and put it next to your trash can, or you can just break it down and put it next to your trash can. No special container required. So I want to also wish everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn. Alderman Blackwell.
I want to echo absolutely what Robin just said. Merry Christmas to everybody. It's my favorite time of the year. The couple things that I wanted to go over is the Domestic Violence Lethality Task Force, which I'm excited to say that I've been working with the school system again this year to discuss healthy relationships, the resources that are out there for our community members who are, having a tough time in unhealthy, violent relationships and abusive relationships. So we are going to be speaking with 7th and hopefully 8th graders as well this year. So I'm excited to expand that a bit this year. Had a planning commission meeting last night. Apologies for my children. We're very loud during it. Short and sweet. I know that I'm sure they'll be going over it, but that there's a planning commission. There's a seat open on the planning commission, and I know people are applying, but I wanted to make sure people know that that's happening. City schools, I'm not going to report. I have a very long email that I could read right now, but I'm not going to do that because we are out of session. But really, the crux of it was COVID. And, what the school system is doing. But because they're paused, I'll bring that up again in the next meeting instead. And then I want to just touch on one thing, which is technically not my alderman thing, and I apologize, but I just want to thank Sir Novia, Alderman McGee. The daycare center is, the Tullahoma Daycare Center's virtual tour of homes. I was the host of it and helped produce that thing, whatever it was. And thank you for participating and, allowing me to sing next to you with my no longer soprano voice. So I think it went really well. I'm really excited to see how so many of our nonprofits are adapting through COVID. So thank you, Alderman McGee, for that. And that's it. The Diversity Council will touch on later. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Berry.
Those are tough acts to follow, Mr. Mayor. Since we last met, I also attended the Veterans ceremony in the park. That's always amazing. I unfortunately was not able to attend the Wreaths Across America, but that's always, if you haven't been to the cemetery, go take a look. There's a lot of stories. It's a powerful imagery in there. Met with the Consolidated Communications Board. That's our 911 center. There's a lot going on there, and probably discuss that more at the beginning of the year, but there is a lot happening. The Sports Council, we met as well. Due to the inability to know what the new year and COVID and life is going to bring, the annual Hall of Fame banquet will be postponed until 2021. But there's still a lot of work to be done. There's some great things. They're looking at fundraising to finally finish and help with that fourth field out there, and looking for ways to raise money for bathrooms and concessions and soccer. And so there's, I'm glad that I'm a part of that now, because there's a lot of things in there that I didn't know about that they're looking to address. And it's a good group of people volunteering in there. I echo everyone before me and wishing everybody a Merry Christmas. And if you're able to see your family, spend time with the family and count your blessings and leave everything else. Put it off for a week. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well said. Thank you, Alderman Mary. Alderman Nauhacker.
Good evening, everybody. So since our last meeting, I tried to kind of stay out of the spotlight, out of the limelight. Apparently, that's becoming very difficult for me to do. I will say that our tourism council meeting was canceled for this month, and so is our tree board. We won't meet again until next month. But with the tourism council, it's kind of inspired me to do this small business spotlight monthly that I told I would start doing during my Alderman report. Last month, I recognized Southern Charm, which is a new business here in town, over what is that? Where the Chick-fil-A is, in that shopping center right there. And today, I want to recognize Ashley Craft's Telehoma Nutrition. Ashley Craft and her new business here in town. And Telehoma Nutrition, they have some really awesome drinks and shakes, and so they help me get up and go in the morning. And I've enjoyed visiting that business over the last month. And she said that right now, any new customers would receive a $1 off. So y'all go by and mention that and get your $1 off of your drink if you haven't gone there yet. So I do think that I want to briefly just address some of the things that are being said. Context is everything. And the two people that have spoken to this board tonight have never actually had a conversation with me. And I think that's a problem, to go and ask for somebody's resignation that you've never talked to. And more than willing to do that, and want any citizens to know that I'm more than willing to do that. Once you get to know me, you'll know that I have a love of satire, and I do think that comedy is very important. In fact, some of the greatest authors and world leaders in history from time to time like to use comedy to make light of situations and very serious subjects, such as Shakespeare and Orwell, and I think there's lots to be learned from those individuals, and I greatly respect them. And many of our leaders in history from time to time, use comedy. This weekend, I attended speaking on what Daniel said, love your family, attend functions when you can. I attended a family Christmas party. I didn't throw the party. I didn't decide the decorations. It was a spoof, a parody. And I'm sorry, but I just cannot apologize. I will not apologize for attending a party on my own time, not as Alderman Allmacher, but as my dad's daughter and my brother's little sister. And it's unfortunate that people are so easily offended, but I just want you to know that talking about diversity and inclusion tonight, remember that if you were offended by something, the very premise behind diversity and inclusion is to embrace and respect other people's ideas, values, and ideologies outside of your own. And I would encourage during the season of Christmas for you all to consider that. We can't continue to walk on eggshells around each other. We need to love one another and respect one another, and always understand that there may be, if you have a conversation with somebody, there may be more to the story. And I encourage anybody that has questions about that to reach out to me. because I know we have lots of business to get to tonight. Let's see if there's anything else. I also attended the orientation with Cernobia. Want to thank Miss Moody for giving us a great tour that day of the airport, which is, like she said, very beautiful. And also the new police department. I've gotten to tour twice now, and it's coming right along. And I think that there's so much space in there, and they're just really, you guys are just going to be able to stretch your legs. And we're really excited to get our police department into the new building. So hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Blanks. Oh, excuse me, Alderman Amacher. And now Mayor Pro Tem Blanks, do you have a report tonight?
I do. I'll try to keep it short, but I may turn into Jackie. Since our last meeting, I had a Duck River meeting. Nothing major going on there. We still have good water. Normandy Reservoir is filled. So fill up your cups, make your coffee, drink plenty of water. We are award-winning water system in Kentucky and Tennessee. Also attended a TUA meeting tonight. Nothing out of the ordinary there. We're plus 29 signups for our internet. That just keeps going up and up and up. So we're a gigabyte city, and you can't beat our service. So if you are looking for an internet provider, we'll be happy to hook you up. Also, TUA through their Roundup program, where customers will donate, money off of their bill every month, raised in the last 7 months around $30,000, and we rained on some people here in the last couple of weeks around Christmas. So that's a good thing here at Christmas time. Also, we're with the cold weather and then it warming back up. We've had a couple of water main breaks, one in front of Donut Palace here in the last few days that they're fixing. I think one in Bragg subdivision tonight as we speak. So be on the lookout for that. If you see water bubbling out, holler at us so we can fix that. I'd like to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody out there in social media land and TV land. It's a season that's wonderful and also can be melancholy for some that look back on people that are not around anymore. So be aware of that. Also toured the police department. I think we got a wonderful new police department that we can be proud of. And I know the police department, police chief are very proud of it, and we as Tullahoma should be too. It's been a long time coming. As far as, I also chaired the diversity committee meeting where we listened to both sides. We'll talk about that a little bit tonight in the study session. We have minutes that'll be coming out there that, I will get to you guys so y'all can review. And when we come back, if you have any questions or additions or deletions, you can let me know. I would challenge this board, and I've done this before, 6 to 8 weeks ago, maybe longer, to really think about, we are public officials. That means we're held on a little bit higher pedestal than everybody else. So they look to us to be, representatives of the community, number one, and their interest. But we got to, think about what you say before you say it. Think about what you're posting before you post it. And this is my New Year's resolution or challenge to my other board members. Get off of Facebook, get off of Twitter, and get off all the social media. It is the devil, and it's dividing us. So if you can go a month or two and stay off of that, I will buy you a steak dinner, every one of you, if you will stay off of it for a month to 6 weeks. It's only dividing this community. So, and not only the board, I would do that for the whole city of Tullahoma. Social media is just, you sit back and you hit send or whatever, and it's like, you don't suffer the consequences. But, it's just sort of tacky, You know, it's not becoming of us as a city of Tullahoma. So, you know, I'll take a pledge. I will stay off of social media for a month. And if everybody else will make that pledge, I'll take you out to dinner. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Well said. Okay, at this time, we'll get a report from the mayor. It's my time to speak. Last night I attended, along with Alderman Blackwell and Ms. Moody, we had the Planning Commission meeting, fairly short meeting, but attended to some of the business of the city. And I think the meeting lasted, Alderman Blackwell, did it last 10 minutes?
Maybe at most. It was awesome.
Got through, made it pretty short. Anyway, on last Saturday, we had Wreaths Across America. That was my first time to attend that activity, but I was very impressed. I had an opportunity to put a wreath on a friend's grave who was a military person. He was 101 years old last year, and I put a wreath on his grave in Oakwood. So that was an impressive ceremony. The airport board is very active right now. Things going on there include building new hangars. One 8,000 square foot hangar is being built just behind the Vanderbilt Life Flight hangar. That's on the east side of the airport. Over on the west side, next to the hangars that are over there that already existing, they're building two new hangars over there. Both of them will be 10,000 square foot hangars. So this is really booming with respect to hangar space out there. Another activity going on at the airport, the old World War II hangar that's adjacent to the airport has been sold to a fellow that runs a machine shop, Lynchburg Machine Works, and he's committed to renovating that hangar and doing his machine work there. He has some Navy contracts that will allow him to expand that business. He's going to also, in addition to doing his machine works there, he's going to be having a flight service station there for the aviators in the area, and he'll be having a student pilot teaching student pilots to fly. So we've got actually three businesses going into that old World War II hangar there. So that's pretty exciting things there. The other thing that went on a week ago was 2 weeks ago now, was the Christmas parade. In spite of COVID, we had a very good Christmas parade, and congratulations to the second place winner in the float division there with Zenobia and her float. So that's my report for tonight. And at this time, we will go into the consent agenda. And before we go into the consent agenda, let me read something that has to be read to advise you of what we can do with that. Say, all matters that are listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or a citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. During the portion of the meeting reserved for comments from citizens as shown on the agenda, citizens may request that the board remove an item from the consent agenda so the discussion can be held on that item. So at this time, I'll read the captions for those items on the consent agenda. Item number 2127 will be the minutes from the November 9th meeting. That was a regular meeting. Item 20-128 is to announce a vacancy on the Telehoma Regional Planning Commission for a term that expired on October the 26th, 2020. 2129 is to approve the reappointment of Mr. Paul Swear to a 5-year term expiring October 26, 2025 on the Tullahoma Regional Planning Commission. Item number 20-130 is to set a public hearing for Monday, January the 11th at 5:30 p.m. on a surplus property request for the city property along East Decker Street right-of-way at 320 South Polk Street. Item number 2131 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract amendment with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for Cedar Lane Sidewalks project, along with portions on State Route 16 North on North Jackson Street and William Boulevard and Cedar Lane. Those with the new Exhibit A, and that's can be in your packet, for additional funding to the project number 16 LM-F3-049. Item number 6, that's item number 2132, is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a 2-year contract extension with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for a project to widen the roadway of a box culvert on the North Fork of Rock Creek on Ledford Mill Road with a new end date of September the 30th, 2023. Item number 2133 is to approve the purchase of labor and materials for Clean Air Concepts in the total amount of $19,762 to repair and replace portions of the diesel exhaust removal system at Telehoma Fire Station number 1 and number 2. And the last item, number 8, is item number 20-132 is to approve the purchase of furnishings for the new police station under NCPA contracts and TIPS contracts in the total amount of $140,381.43. These funds are budgeted and they are available on the capital project account. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderman Allmacher.
I have questions about item number 8 that I would like to get out on the record for the public. So if we could remove item number 8, number 20-134.
We'll move that item number to the end of new business for the last session on the agenda for new business. Thank you. Okay, with the exception of that removal, we have a motion and a second. Is any further discussion? There's no further discussion. I'll ask Ms. Recorder to call the roll and get the vote.
This is Rosemary. Who blanks made the motion? Who made the second, please?
Blackwell.
Blackwell. Thank you.
I think.
Now, roll call. Mayor Noes, are you in favor of this consent agenda except for the last one?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Blanks.
Yes.
Alderperson Allmacher.
Yes.
Alderman Berry.
Yes.
Alderman Blackwell.
Yes.
Alderman Dunn.
Yes.
And Alderman McGee.
Yes.
Okay, that's 7-4. 7 in favor.
Thank you. We'll go on to old business now. Under the item of old business, we have an ordinance number 1545, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Tullahoma, Tennessee, as set forth in the municipal code, which is ordinance number 1392, to rezone 2 parcels at 112 South Collins Street and from R1 low density residential to C2 general commercial district. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Blackwell, second by Alderman Dunn. Is there any discussion? Recorder Crabtree, will you take the roll call?
Okay, Mayor Noes.
Yes.
In favor or not? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Blanks.
Yes.
Alderperson Allmacher.
Yes.
Alderperson Berry.
Yes.
Alderperson Blackwell.
Ma'am.
Alderperson Dunn.
Yes.
And Alderperson McGee.
Yes.
That's 7 in favor. Thank you.
And the motion carries. Next item on the new business is item number 20-136. Consider approval to amend the annual budget by an estimated $56,370 in additional employee compensation to provide a mid-year cost of living adjustment of 1.5% to all full-time and permanent and part-time employees. That's for permanent part-time employees. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion for Blackwell, seconded by Dunn. Any discussion?
I didn't second that, but
Seconded that.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Berry.
This is it. I noticed this is not retroactive. Is this something that we normally do every year, is a cost of living increase?
Yes.
Yes. And I'm without looking at the numbers, I'd assume it's be roughly double.
Yes.
To go retroactive. My kind of thought here is we did a very conservative budget. And we boasted about having a very conservative budget. And I think that thank you for that, and Sue and everybody involved, and the department heads have scaled back. Throughout COVID, the city staff has just been amazing. They were there when other people weren't. They could have gotten laid off and made more money that way, but they powered through. And I would like, before I make a motion, I guess, see if there's any support. I would first like to ask the board if we can find another enough money in our budget to make this retroactive to the beginning of June. I think they deserve it.
Can I say something? I feel the same way, but I think the question is for Ms. Moody, whether we have that money, because I'm in agreement. They've been working their tails off. So I'd love to see that as well.
May I say something? So I too am in agreement. I know that we have the one that I pulled off tonight when we get to it. I just feel like we're going to spend $140,000 on furniture for a police department. Our employees need to come first. And that's where I'm at too. I think that we need to prioritize in this budget. So.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let me comment. I was involved in the discussions for preparing this budget, and yes, when we prepared the budget, we were unsure of what the future would be for the next year. We weathered the storm for the first 6 months. However, everyone that has knowledge of what is coming down the road, and we're seeing it every day when we're looking at the number of new COVID cases that we're having. The governor has just put the state in a bigger lockdown than it was ever put in during the first part of the year. So looking ahead, we're looking at a potential more damaging economy than we ever had during the first 6 months. That was my logic for supporting the budget as we've presented. It's uncertain what that future is going to be with the impact of COVID going forward. That was my logic. I'm sure Ms. Moody will have some comments to make as well.
Well, first, I absolutely appreciate your comments about the staff. I mean, I can't say it more strongly than you did. I think it's been a very difficult year. And in terms of the budget, our departments across the board were cut by, 10 $10,000 in the smallest departments and much more in larger departments. And I think that you didn't see a loss in services or even a reduction in what they did. I also didn't hear any complaints when we only passed a step increase, while others, I think, were not as fiscally responsible as we have been, and they did go forward with raises as if it was a normal economy. So, I'll always, root for our staff, but also balance it with what I think is fiscally responsible. And I do think that with the very positive sales tax growth that we've experienced this year, and we are about 6 months in, and we know that we are over 9% year to date than where we're at last year. That's about $430,000 in real dollars over what we collected last year. So the amount of this pay increase, if you were to do it effective with the first pay period in January, it would represent $56,370. If you were to make it retroactive back to the July 1 start of this fiscal year, it would cost the city $112,740. So exactly double, as you asked. I feel like it would be responsible. It's a 1.5% cost of living adjustment. It's equivalent to what our Tullahoma City Schools passed at the beginning of their budget for their employees. And I think that in a sense, if we were to just forego this cost of living increase for the rest of the year, we would only need to make a larger adjustment at the beginning of the next budget year so that we could keep our pay plan on track with the market. We don't want our employee compensation to fall behind and not be competitive with others in our region.
If I might comment also, I think it would be wonderful if everybody could get a raise all the time. But the last thing we want to do is paint ourselves into a corner and end up in a situation where we have to do layoffs. I know I've definitely seen that in school systems with the race to the top money that we received, where a lot of school systems went ahead and started hiring extra workers. And, when that money was gone, those people were out of a job. And I think this economy looks very dicey right now. And I think it's wonderful that we're able to do this 1.5% raise. But I think we need to be very, very prudent with our money that we've been entrusted by our citizens.
Jennifer, I have a question. This COLA, if we had not been in pandemic and everything was normal, that would have started July 1st, the raise?
It would have started with the start of the budget year. Had it been a normal year, and this is information that I have, we last year had a market analysis done, and we studied 20 of our city positions to see where they were in terms of the market. Were they competitive? Were they lagging? Or were they ahead? And what we found is we were on track. There were only a couple of positions that had fallen behind the labor market. And the most significant one of those was our laborers. So our lowest paid employees at the very bottom. And I've held back in bringing you a recommendation on that, but that's something that I'll be bringing forward in the months ahead to raise their salaries as well. But what I also learned, why I'm telling you this, what I learned from that compensation study was that if we continue to pass between a 3% and a 4% raise, and remember our steps are 1.5%, so we need that COLA to be at least 1.5%. If we continue to pass a total of between 3% and 4% every year without any other major fluctuation in the job market, we will stay on track and stay competitive. What I think you all are alluding to and what we can't predict is the economy and what will change in the future. And that's why when we started this budget year, I didn't feel like we could get an accurate estimate of a cost of living. We were heading into a recession. So, really there could be no cost of living at all. It could be declining actually. But I think at this point in the year, it's for me less about the actual index and more about keeping our pay plan competitive. And I would support, just like I've recommended here, I recommended going forward with an adjustment from now towards the end of the budget year, and then let's look in 6 months and make an adjustment again in the next budget year. But if it's your pleasure, obviously I would support, and I do think I have to answer honestly, I think that there is funding available if you wanted to make it retroactive.
Well, one of the things about being on the board for a while, I was on the board when we gave no step increases. We did not, we were in recession. So, back to Robin's point, sometimes you have money that the stream is not there, and then you have to cut staff, or you don't give any raises at all. And, some of the long-term employees of the city will understand. They'll remember that. And I don't want to, since things are still sort of dicey, we got to be prudent. I'd rather have a little bit of a nest egg than not have anything. 9% over a year is pretty good. I think we were running 4%, from year to year over the last 4 or 5. So, 9% is excellent. I think people are, they're shopping locally, hopefully. But, going back retroactively, I'd love to do that, but it just cost us another $50,000 if we did that total for a total of 112. Is that right?
Yes.
I think that would make an excellent Christmas bonus for our employees.
Well, I guess my question in just being direct is, do you think that this 56,370 is going to be a big of enough hit to our bottom line? We are to be responsible with the taxpayer dollars, absolutely, but we also are running a corporation, a company, with employees who are our biggest
asset.
They are our biggest asset, and we have relied. Without them, nothing gets done. We can meet all we want, and I think that goes along. If it's, I know it's a tough call, but I would like, if everybody's done having a discussion, I'd like to make a motion and we can either shoot it up or down.
I have one thing.
Oh,
go
right.
ahead. Go ahead.
So the other option right now, though, I mean, we're voting right now to give the increase. That's what is on of a 1.5% correct increase, $56,000. Can we then also, instead of making this decision today to add the other 56 in, can Ms. Moody go back? Because the question, I think, is that going to be a hit? What does that look like for us? Can she prepare that for us for next month for us to discuss and us go ahead and move forward? So I definitely want to make sure that this raise that's on the agenda tonight gets taken care of. And then I would love to see more research done to see if we could do more. But I don't know if, while discussion is great, I really like to see things on paper, and I would love to see if that's feasible. Maybe we can discuss that next month.
Well, I think Daniel's motion would be to give the retroactive. I mean, we would vote that up or down, and then we would fall back. I don't think anybody on the board is not wanting to pass what we have presented.
Got it. And I just, okay, got it.
Well, I definitely don't want to get into the scenario where we're bringing everything back every week, study session it to death. That's not efficiency. That's bureaucracy at its greatest. But, you definitely want to make sure you got your P's and Q's. But I think Daniel, your motion will be do retroactive. We'll vote that up or down.
And then we fall back to the...
Right. We have a fallback.
I guess we have Jennifer and
let me remind you that we already have a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
It had been amended.
We have a motion on the floor.
And a second.
And a second. Let's take care of that motion to approve or not approve.
Yeah, can I add? As Mayor Pro Tem Blanks stated, our city employees, they have been wonderful and they are our greatest asset. I'm in agreement to retro this back. I think, as Alderman Allmarker stated, it would be a wonderful Christmas bonus if we could do that. What better time to do that? And I think as long as we do what's right by the employees of the city, the rest will come. So that's all.
I call the motion that we have on the floor.
I would like to amend that.
Number 2136 or disapprove. So that motion has been made and seconded. I'd like to get a roll call vote on that motion. We'll hear another motion if this fails.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to amend the motion that's on the floor and vote on that. I believe would be the correct procedure.
You want to amend the motion that we have?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'd like to
state your amended motion.
I'd like to make a motion to retroactively approve the 1.5% cost of living back to the beginning of the budget year.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Porter, Mr. Crabtree, did you get the motion?
Yes, I got the amendment to the motion. The amendment was made by Barry and seconded by Blackwell to make this retroactive to the beginning of the budget year, which would be July 1st, raises to all the employees at 1.5%. Yes, I have that motion. I have that amendment to the motion. We will now take a roll call
Very
vote.
Good. We've had the discussion, so we'll now have the roll call vote.
All righty. So, Mayor Noes.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Blanks.
Yes.
Alderperson Allmacher.
Yes.
Alderman Barry.
Yes.
Alderperson Blackwell.
Yes.
Alderperson Dunn.
Yes.
Alderperson McGee.
Yes.
So that would be six yeses and one no.
Very good. The amended motion passes. Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, it's obvious that I was in a hurry to get on to other business tonight because I've skipped one item under new business. Not only that, I've completely skipped our city administrator and our city attorney's reports. Don't go away, city administrator and city attorney. We'll get back to you.
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes?
Do we have to vote on the original motion as well? Or
not on the amended motion?
I think the amended motion just takes care of that.
All right. Thank you.
Let's take care of the one other new item of new business before we go back to the city attorney and the city administrator's report. This is item number 20-135. Consider approving and authorize the mayor to sign a hospital services agreement pending final legal review by the city attorney. This is an agreement that we have with the hospital to provide hospital services to city employees who may perhaps be injured on the job. It's almost like workman's comp. So the details of that are in your packet. Is there anything that you'd care to add, Ms. Moody?
I would be happy to. This hospital service agreement allows us to negotiate reduced prices for fairly limited circumstances. This will only be used when an employee has a need for medical services related to workers' comp or or an injury that the city would be responsible for paying, or if they're having emergency cares after the hours that a normal or a typical doctor's office would be open. And then also, I believe you may have a question about this with the Tenova turning over to Vanderbilt. This agreement will automatically roll over to Vanderbilt. We won't have to take any other action.
I have a question.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I have a question before we do that.
We've got a motion and second first before we can discuss.
Okay.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay.
Alderman, approve, motion by Alderman Berry, approved by Alderman Blackwell.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Blackwell. Yes, Ms. Zenobia.
I have a question about that. Would that be a conflict of interest for me only because they would come through my department first?
You can probably answer that better than anyone on this board.
It probably would be.
Yeah, I think if you disclose what you think may be a conflict, which you just did, and then you may still either vote or abstain. It's your choice. Okay. But the important thing is to disclose and be transparent about what you think.
And so that's what I want to do. So I think I need to abstain from that because I work here at the hospital.
Okay.
I respect that. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No further discussion?
Shall we have a roll call?
We need a roll call from the city recorder.
Okay. This is regarding item 20-135. Mayor Noes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Blanks. You're muted.
Yeah, yes, I had to unmute, sorry.
Alderperson Almacher.
Yes.
Alderman Berry.
Yes.
Alderperson Blackwell.
Yes.
Alderperson Dunn.
Yes.
And Alderperson McGee is abstaining, so that would be 6-0. Motion passes.
Thank you. At this time, we've got, going back to the consent agenda, item number 20-134 is an item that we've pulled from the consent agenda for discussion, and that's the approval of the purchase of furnishings for the new Tullahoma Police Station. And that's $140,381.43. The funds are budgeted and they are available from the capital budget account. Could I get a motion on the floor?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Blackwell, approved, seconded by Berry. Discussion.
Okay, so I'm the one who has to pull this. 140,000. I was just kind of that number. It just seems like a lot, and I feel like we kind of owe it to the citizens. Maybe Jennifer, Miss Moody, if you would kind of talk about the process that was gone through here to select the vendors, and how do we know that we are getting the best deal and prices, because it does seem like a whole lot of money for furniture.
I will agree with you. It does seem like a whole lot of money to spend at one time. I would put it in the context of the total project. So this total project had a budget of $5.2 million. About $4.2 million of that was just the construction cost. And it is a 10,000 square foot, 2-story building that we're using every room of and having to completely furnish. It also has some facilities that we don't have in our current building. So one of the things that I'm really excited about is the community and training room, where we'll have the ability for 40 to 50 staff members to train. Now, of course, we have to provide tables and chairs and all of those kind of things, as well as office furnishings for the building. and lockers for the locker rooms, those kind of things. I think that just to go over the process a little bit, we used an architecture firm for the design of this building. And as part of the services from Upland Design, they provided an interior designer, and she worked with us from the very beginning of the design to look at things like how to efficiently use the spaces we had, how to place electrical outlets and things like that in the best placement for where computers are going to be and where desks are going to be. And so we also asked her to pay attention to two characteristics. We want the most durable product because remember, police operations are 24/7. So they tend to be very rough on office furnishings. They're using them all the time. And then cost. As you'll remember, this budget, we did everything we could at the beginning of this to even change the size of the building from about a 14,000 square foot building down to 10,000 to save, get the project within budget. So these items have been selected in coordination with SK Ballard, interior designer, and we're purchasing everything off of cooperative purchasing agreements where we're getting them at competitive pricing. And many of them, some of this comes with up to 10-year warranties on the equipment. Things such as chairs, we have some that, rather than typical office equipment, I don't want to say names of any retailers specifically, but typical office equipment that you or I might buy may have plastics or wood frame. Many of these, the seating we're buying has a steel frame and a very durable, harder plastic to stand up to police belts and equipment that they wear and things like that. So I'm happy to answer any other questions about it. I think when you look at it piece by piece, and that's why I provided a fairly itemized list. When you look at it piece by piece, I think you start to see the prices are a little more reasonable. But I definitely agree with you, not having had to furnish a 10,000 square foot building all at one time. It looks like a lot of money to spend at one time. The other thing I should mention is that when we created a budget for this project, we made sure to include funding for all of the IT equipment. So all of that infrastructure and telephones and security cameras and all of that David's been helping us work with. We had a budget for that. We also had a budget for owner furnished items, including the furniture and equipment. And so I'm not asking for any additional funds for this project, but this amount is over my purchasing authority. So what I'm showing you is that we are spending money that is already budgeted for this project.
So was that forecasted, that amount, was that a reasonable forecast of the furnishings in the original budget?
I had an estimate around 100,000 for the furnishings. So this is a little bit more, but we had a 200,000 contingency budget because of the size of the project. We really just estimated it as a % of the total project budget. So I think it's in the ballpark.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Are there any other questions? Not, City Recorder can call the roll. Call the vote.
Okay, we're voting on item number 20-134, approval purchase of furnishing for the new Tullahoma Police Department. Motion made by Blackwell and seconded by Berry. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. Roll call. Mayor Noes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Blanks.
Yes.
Alderperson Almacher.
No.
Alderperson Berry.
Yes.
Alderperson Blackwell.
Yes, ma'am.
That was a yes, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm writing and trying to look up at the same time. Okay, Alderperson Dunn.
Yes.
And Alderperson McGee.
Yes.
Thank you. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses and 1 no. Motion passes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I apologize to the city attorney and the city administrator for skipping your reports earlier, but thank you for bearing with us. This is the first time I've done a Zoom meeting for our city board meeting. So we'll go back now for the report from the city administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I'll just be brief and give you an update on 2 projects that I know are very important to you and very important to us. And that is the city website. We've received proposals from at least 4 firms, and we have an IT committee that is reviewing those, scoring them, and we'll meet soon to interview or select a vendor. And then our new city planner, she's been with us, I think, 3 weeks now, and very quickly got to work on our request for proposals on the update to the comprehensive land use plan. I know Planning Commission and you all will be very excited. It will be, I'm sure, something like a 9 to 12 month process with a lot of community engagement and being able to talk with all areas of our community about what their growth and land use looks like over the next 20 years in Tullahoma. So we're really excited to get to work on that. We've got the RFP ready. I believe Paige Jackson in finance is reviewing it now, and we'll get it advertised right away and hope to get proposals back in early February. And then last, as you all know, this is our last meeting of the year, and so I just wanted to use it as an opportunity again to say, thank you to all of you and to all of our city employees for just everything that you've done through what's been I think, tremendously difficult year personally. Just the amount of stress I'm sure that we all have had with our families and this health crisis, and then being able to show up, as you said, show up to work every day. And I really think that I did not see a difference in terms of enthusiasm and dedication and service to Tullahoma. And so I just want to say thank you and Merry Christmas to everybody and Happy New Year. Looking very much forward to a new year.
Thank you, Ms. Moody. Thank you for your report and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Attorney Worsham.
Oh, I'll unmute you. If it will let me.
Steve, you need to unmute. There you are.
Am I muted?
You're good.
Am I muted?
You're good.
You can hear me. All right. Number 1, item number 2135, that was a contract for hospital services. I have reviewed that already with Ms. Bryce, and they've incorporated my changes into that agreement, just for your information. Secondly, we received a notice today that all the courts in Tennessee will be suspended until January the 29th, including our municipal court. There will be certain circumstances under which certain court matters can be considered, but it's going to be greatly limited. And so we're going to have to deal with that if we have any matters that are going to be pending in court. At the present time, we're working on the collection of delinquent taxes as we have been for several months. The process server is in the process now of serving people that are the defendants in these tax cases, and we're dealing with people that are calling in with certain questions and things like that, and we're directing a lot of people on to Ms. Golden for the collection of those, or allowing people to pay periodic payments rather than all of it at one time, as some people have asked to do. At this time, I would like to suggest, if you all haven't taken this into account, in item number 5, the consent agenda, number 20-131, that we bear in mind the fact that eventually we might be able to get funding for the widening of Cedar Lane from the present 3 lanes all the way through to Wilson Avenue and hopefully someday to Clement Drive. So when we enter into that design phase with the Department of Transportation, I think we ought to make sure that the sidewalks that we're going to be building out there are far enough away from the existing paving so that we will have room for some additional widening in that project. And one other thing that the mayor didn't mention, that he and his wife and Mr. Brooks and I and maybe others from the city attended a beautiful Christmas concert at Sandy Patty down at South Jackson a couple of Saturday nights ago. It was a wonderful concert. Ms. Blackwell was there too, I believe. Wonderful Christian Christmas concert, and we all enjoyed it very, very much. I'd like to wish all y'all a Merry Christmas, and if y'all have any questions, let me know, all right?
Thank you, Attorney Worsham. I appreciate your support, your service. Is there any other new business? If there is no further new business, the council will be adjourned. But with that, we have the beer board meeting. Now, Ms. Crabtree, do we need to do a roll call?
No roll call for the beginning, just we need the consent agenda motion and second for the minutes last time.
With that, do we have anyone who would like to make any public comments to the beer board?
Mayor, I would like to make a comment. Typically, we require that applicants be present when we hear their beer application, but due to moving this meeting on short notice and it being on Zoom, and also because this application is not changing ownership, but only changing the name of the business, we did tell that applicant that they could be excused from attending this meeting.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's go to the consent agenda, and the consent agenda is item number 20, that's BB 31, minutes from the November 9th meeting. Motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye or no. We have to go through, Rosemary, we have to go through the roll call.
Okay, for the consent agenda approval of the beer board minutes from November 9th, Mayor, would you approve that or vote for it?
Yes, approve.
Mayor Pro Tem Blanks? Alderperson Amacher?
Yes.
Alderman Berry?
Yes.
Alderperson Blackwell?
Yes.
Alderperson Dunn?
Yes.
Alderperson McGee? That would be 7 in favor, so the motion passes.
Motion carries. Under old business. Is there any old business? I see no old business. We'll go on to new business. That's the one that City Administrator Moody referred to. The item is number 20 BB 32, beer application for on-premises beer permit for an existing business at 1905 North Jackson Street, Suite 800, changing the name from Las Trojas to El Costo Mexicano Restaurant and Grill. With Ms. Costello Velquez to the local manager in charge of beer sales. Same owner, just new name. Your motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Second.
Motion. Thanks, and second by Blackwell. Any discussion? No discussion?
I would just like to say that this place has the best guacamole in town.
Oh.
So.
Yes. And their Fiesta Carnitas. Oh my goodness.
Are y'all getting hungry?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll only say this. They're wonderful people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are.
Wonderful people. Okay, we have a motion, and we done the roll call.
Sure. Mayor.
Roll call.
Mayor Noes.
Yes.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Blanks.
C.
Alderperson Amacher.
Yes.
Alderman Berry.
Yes.
Alderperson Blackwell.
Yes.
Alderperson Dunn.
Yes.
And Alderperson McGee.
Yes.
And we have a 7-0. Thank you. Seeing that there is no other new business, the Beer Board will adjourn. With the adjournment of the Beer Board, we are now going into a study session.
Mr. Mayor.
This will be for the presentation and discussion regarding the Mayor's Study Council on proposed to establish Community Council for Diversity and Inclusion. Let me say this before we start this, so that primary intent of this study session tonight will be to get a report from the chairman of the study commission, Alderman Pro Tem Blanks, and we'll get that report. And with that report, we'll also, we'll get that report first, but I'll think with the report, we have not disseminated the minutes from that meeting, nor have we disseminated any substantive summary of the meeting. So after the report from Dr. Blanks, we'll talk about how to disseminate those minutes and the summary report. Alderman Blanks.
Mr. Mayor, point of personal privilege, and I hate to do this. Can we take 2 minutes?
Yes, if you'll hurry.
2 minutes.
And while we're doing that, I can certainly sympathize with anyone who needs a 2-minute break.
Are you going to do stand-up while that happens? Some comedy? No?
Go right ahead, Rupa.
No, definitely not.
You could sing. Merry Christmas, everybody. I failed to say that in my report. Rippy, you're not going to sing?
No, I'm not going to sing. You've heard me sing. Nobody needs to hear that.
You can sing.
I was listening to you so I could catch pitch and try to make sure I wasn't too flat or sharp and all the others.
Well, I'd lip synced.
No.
Probably about 60%.
Okay, Milli Vanilli.
Yes, Milli Vanilli.
My favorite was Mrs. Baldwin's face when we were doing it. She was like, what is happening?
Yeah. Is this the same group?
What happened to these singers?
Darnobia, I've heard you really have a good voice.
I do, not to brag, but it is a gift from God, and I don't take it lightly. Many doors have opened for me because of my gift. So thank you.
Well, I can't wait to hear you.
I believe we have a quorum back in session. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Blanks and Chairman of the Study Committee, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Mayor's Study Committee on Proposed Diversity and Inclusion Council met on Wednesday, December 2nd from 4 p.m. to nearly 7 o'clock. Members of the committee included myself, Alderman Daniel Berry, Alderman Rupert Blackwell, Ms. Tish Fitz, Ms. Susan Harris, Mr. Lynn Seaburn, Reverend Elmore Tolbert, Ray Noes, Mayor Ray Noes was there, as well as City Administrator Jennifer Moody was taking minutes for us. Due to COVID, we were limited in seating, but we probably had 25 to 30 people in attendance. Purpose of the meeting was to discuss the merits and advantages of the proposed committee being formed as either a committee under the city board or as an independent non-city entity. The meeting began with a review of the intended purposes, mission, and objectives of the committee. Then the public comments were heard with 6 people on the pro side and 6 people on the against side. The second half of the meeting consisted of the discussion among us board members. I do say, I think all of you guys were there except Miss Dunn. Miss Robin couldn't attend. She was probably tutoring our next Tullahoma genius. Mm-hmm. But thank you for getting our ACT scores up and SAT scores.
Jennifer, do you think I need to go over all the bullet points if it was formed as part of the city and as far as, go through all that? Or, since most all of us were here, I can.
It's up to you. We could send the summary out with the minutes.
Okay.
Do that after.
Let me hit the highlights since, this was my charge. Some of the benefits if formed part of the city was enhanced community by dividing diverse experiences, needs or concerns to be recognized, including veterans, people with disabilities, or those that were defined as historically disadvantaged. A tool for the city to outreach to parts of the community that otherwise do not feel like they're being represented or their voices can't be heard. Board to be an additional boots on the ground to help gain access to those that the board may not currently be hearing from. Committee would have an alderman assigned as a liaison, giving the committee members direct access to ensure the services provided by the city are accessible to all members of the community. The community would be able to apply for grants as part of the city that may otherwise not be available to them as an independent entity. A benefit to the city in recruitment, a benefit of business and industry, a competitive advantage for the top talent and companies looking for communities that make diversity and inclusion a top priority. A benefit to empower the city board with civic empathy. So that was 6 or 7 bullet points that formed as part of the city. The summary of discussed concern. Concern, it is not the right solution or will be ineffective solution for helping all citizens feel heard by their elected representatives. Concern that there have not been enough research, engagement, or planning done to develop a proposed solution or committee. Fear it would create a division within the community or further divide community members into tribe-specific groups. Concerned that too much focus is put upon superficial or personal characteristics. Concerned it is not a wise use of city resources, should not be supported by tax dollars or outside the scope of limited government. Concerned that there would be preferential treatment or advocacy for special groups rather than equal representation between all the citizens. We're concerned that this work should be done by the elected officials and not delegated to the unelected. Concern about the content of educational materials and potential liability for the city. There were concerns about protections for all individual rights as well as religious freedoms, and that those are equally protected, or again, potentially for liability for the city if they are not equally protected. Concern about this advocacy group or whether there would be a detrimental precedent set with the city establishing a advocacy group as an arm of the city. There was concern that as a part of the city, following open meeting laws would slow down the pace of the work that could be done by the committee, since all discussions, decisions would have to be made in only public meetings. So it formed independently from the city. Here's a summary of discussed advantages or benefits. Formed outside the city, formed outside the city to first build trust with those in the community who have a lack of trust or concerns about the intentions and unintended, unforeseen consequences of such a committee prior to considering as part of the city. Summary of discussed concerns. Concern that a nonprofit, those who are already more likely in a socially and economically disadvantaged group, to be in the position of asking the most advantage for funding, creating an unfair power dynamic. Concern that it is not beneficial for the city, local government entity, in parentheses, separate from the city as it would be as part of it. concerned that being part of the city is an integral and indispensable part of the request for those that are seeking this as a tool to have their needs or concerns addressed by their city government. So, we battered this back and forth. There was quite a bit of discussion for and against. I think everybody was, fairly civil. We had audience participation equalized either way. We had a few people that didn't get to speak, but we told them, if you can't, email us your concerns or your desires. And we've had people come tonight, and all of us have had emails forwarded to us, and we're still getting emails. As of today, I was answering some at lunch while I was eating lunch. So we've all been inundated by the fors and against this. So I would thank you, and with all gratitude, those who agreed to serve on the committee. It's part of civil participation. You've done your civic duty. Those of you that have spoken up and came out and participated. In the end, at the end, we didn't really reach consensus other than that. We need to study this probably further. I think we all have some sort of agreement that, diversity is something that, we need to discuss and consider. And like I said, ending up my remarks the other night, and I would tell anybody, I grew up here in Tullahoma. I think this is the greatest place in the world. Some of y'all grew up here just as I did. Some of you moved here and decided to raise a family here and you like Tullahoma. But, my optics are not the same as other people's optics. I am, and most of us on this board are privileged. We don't go hungry. We have a roof over our heads. We have food in our bellies. Some of us are hungry right now. But, those are some of the things that it's hard for us to comprehend because we've not walked in those shoes. So, I look at it as a white male of privilege, and that's what I am. So my optics are not the same as somebody that is a different race or a different color than me, or was raised different from me and was raised from poverty. So, I have to step out of my own comfort zone to recognize, the different entities that are there, and I think, as adults, we can all get to that point, I hope. The crux to this is, do you make it part of the city? Do you make it a part of the city arm or not? I think that's where we have to work through this. Yes, we are a diverse board. There's diversity on our board. 5 years ago, there wasn't as much. So I think people can come to us, or we could have meetings where we get out in the quadrants of the city and try to get the pulse of what's going on. But the only recommendation is from the committee and me as chairman is to further study this. I don't know if we need a specific task force, but we can try to come to some consensus. But the one part about making a city entity or not making a city entity, I don't think we're all on the same place there yet. Most cities of our size, if they implement this, it probably takes them more than 3 or 4 months to get to a thing that they can pass. And I think if we came to this and we voted to pass it, if both sides are ticked off a little bit or not happy, then we've come to an area that we can agree on. So, we have to get to that point, because we have strong opinions on both sides. And I can see some of both sides. But like I said, I'm sort of on the fence, and I think we need to talk about it a little bit more before, see if we can work it out between ourselves. I'm open to any comment from any of the board members. Y'all can tune in.
I love what you just said, because that's kind of what I have been wondering. And if I may, because I've been, as the person who did spearhead this initiative, I have been trying to figure out. So one of the things that has struck me is that I did not anticipate this to have the controversy around it that it has. And I want to apologize to our board, because I did not think that was what was going to happen. In all seriousness, back in July, I thought we had the support of our previous mayor and the board, and it looked to me like we were all on the same page. So I wasn't expecting controversy around this, and I don't want that. That's definitely not what I want for our city, and I wanted to make that clear to everybody here. But we have had, and I think what Dr. Blanks is saying, we've had a change in the board in the past few months, and I maybe didn't read the room right, but because of that, I didn't anticipate this to be controversial. So clearly I misread the board a bit, but this was really meant to be a tool for us. And, I've been thinking about this a lot because of seeing what it's doing within our community and the way people are talking about it, because being controversial is antithetical to the intent and purpose of this council. I think that people are saying this is divisive, etc. That's not the intent. And I've been trying to figure out how we as a community can move forward from this point, because we need to. And I've been praying, which quite a bit over the past few weeks. And what's been going through my mind, this is going to sound crazy, is the serenity prayer over and over again, right? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And bear with me. In the entire point of this, like last night, I was thinking about this and how God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Okay? What that meant to me is, in this moment, I feel like I have tried to explain to our board the necessity of this. And I've done as much as I can to do that. And I really don't have any more points to give in terms of why this is needed. I don't know what type of research y'all would want for me to bring to the table. So in terms of trying to convince y'all, this is where I'm at this point. I need more feedback, which I'll get to in a second. So that's where my God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. It's been, to me, the past few months, seeing the way, or in the few weeks especially, seeing the rhetoric that I'm hearing around this, it just proved to me why this is such a need, and why, in my opinion, why some people feel uncomfortable coming to our board members. But then I got to the point where I was like, the courage to change the things I can, right? And so for me, my goal was to build a bridge to members of the community who didn't feel heard, and who didn't feel comfortable for whatever reason coming to us. And I still want to honor that. So I'm hoping that whatever this we come to, I'm hoping that regardless, I want to make sure that you guys know that I'm still planning on moving this forward, whether it's with the city or without, that I'll be continuing to support people in this way. And I also promise, though, to our board, and this is where that the courage to do the things I can, right? That we would all act professionally, and we need to be able to get our business done. And what I'm seeing right now is that we are having a hard time getting our business done with all of this. And I want us to be able to work for our community in whatever way we need to. And the last part, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I know where my heart lies with this. I know where I have seen our community lies, but really I misgauged our board, and I don't want to keep spinning our wheels if it doesn't even seem like something that the board wants to move forward with as part of the community, part of the city, because I intend to move it forward as part of the community, period. And I know so many citizens do as well. But I don't want this to take over what we need to do as a city as well. We need to get back to work, right? So I was hoping to get an idea from the board if I should even continue to pursue this with the city or if not. And I was hoping that Mayor Noes would allow us to just give a yes or no whether we want to continue with the city, with me going and doing the research that we're talking about and involving our citizens to do that, or if you would rather not, just so that I know how to spend my time and how to use our citizens' time.
I don't think in a study session we can vote, can we?
No, you cannot. But let me offer this suggestion. Let me at least try to get us over this hurdle. And thank you for the work that you've done on this, Dr. Blanks. It's greatly appreciated. And trying to chair this study group. Now, what I would like to suggest is that you have prepared, there are minutes from the meeting that Miss Moody prepared.
I'm going to disseminate that to the board.
There is a summary of the meeting that I would like to put in the hands of every board member. And with that, we can get them out tomorrow. Is that correct, Ms. Moody? Can we get the minutes and the summary out to all the board members tomorrow, Ms. Moody?
Yes.
Okay. If we could do that, that will put that in your hands. And the reason I do not like the idea of delaying this. I like to move on, but I think it's imperative that we delay it until the of January, when we have our next meeting, when all the citizens who wanted to be heard on this subject can be in attendance and have their voices heard. And we all get to hear them. And from that, we will go back into a study session, if you will. And from that, we can come to a vote up or down. So yes, it's delaying it, but I think we're vetting it as it should be vetted.
Well, I don't think we can vote in a study session, though, Mayor. Can we?
That is correct. In the study session, we can at least nod our heads as to whether we group Ms. Blackwell.
And that's what I was trying to ask for tonight.
And it could come before the next meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen as a vote.
So I was trying to get whether even we want to do this for January. I was trying to find, because I'm going to be honest, the controversy around this is not a good look for our city at this point. I'm trying to do what's right for our community. And that ends Christmas. We need to heal. And so for me, my question was, can I see the nods of heads? Do you really want me to continue to do the work and to ask our citizens to do this work? Because I was hoping to have a meeting, and I'm still going to be having a diversity council meeting for those who want to come and hear the conversations that are there on January 12th at 6:30 at Mount Zion, and on my own. But if you guys don't want this to be a part of it, it would be helpful, and it would honestly be very, I think, respectful of the time of the citizens who put into this, honestly, of my time. And I hope, I'm sorry that if I've done anything in this manner that didn't respect your time and your I know how much effort you guys are all putting into this as well, and I appreciate that. So let me make sure I say that. But we have work to do, and I don't want. Yes, I've said what I said.
Well, let me make one other comment. That is, I have fully read every email that we've received from citizens regarding this council. Every pro and every con versus for it to be a part of the city government or not a part of the city government. And I can tell you that it is extremely divided. The subject is divisive, and that is, I can't change that. So I think the best thing we can do is to put all the input that we've got from the study session into your hands before we make that decision. And I would like nothing better than to get on with the business of the city, as opposed to, this has been very time consuming all-consuming for me, for Ms. Moody, from Dr. Blanks, for you, for those who have served on the committee. So there's work to be done, but we don't want to shortchange the citizens who want to be heard on this subject. So let's give them that opportunity to be heard before we try to make a decision.
Can I ask the question?
With that approach and getting those minutes and summary out to you tomorrow so that you have them fully for a couple of weeks before we have our next meeting.
So, Nobi, you had a question?
Yeah, to Alderman Blackwell, have you reached out to any of the neighboring cities or cities, as you know, that may be close to our size, who may have a diversity council already in place, or who attempted to start a diversity council and get their feedback, the pros and cons of it?
I've started reaching out to Decatur as well. Decatur, Georgia, but they have a very different dynamic than our area.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, what I've seen is other counties and cities reaching out to me to see how we were doing it.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome. But no, I have also, the reason why I was asking, do you want me to pursue this with the city or not, is there's somebody who's reached out to me, is like, I have the time to do research. I can do this. I don't want to ask them to do that to the extent, this is, thousands of hours that we're asking of the volunteer, without feeling like, it's worth it to them to do that.
Well, you got to read your political waters. Everybody on the board, we're in politics. And you got to be able to read your constituency and read your fellow board members and realize where you are in America. You're in the South. So that's why you get, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's where I was born. I'm in the South too. But that is your constituency. So that is why you have divisiveness. You're going to have votes and things that you really cherish that you're not going to win. And I've been there.
Absolutely.
And I was, hurt over it. But at the end of the day, you go on to the next thing. You can't be hurt too bad, or you will not be able to be an effective representative for your constituency. I think we're doing the mayor a disservice by bogging this down, and he has things, I'm sure, that he would like to bring to the city and to get going, and we're taking up a lot of time and resources on this. And and I've said this many times, we had a board 15 years ago that hated each other. You got to be able to read things. And do you want to bring something to our board that will divide our city like that? You have to be able, you have to be astute enough to be able to recognize that. And sometimes I haven't, but with time, you'll figure that out. And this is a very polarizing thing. Robin?
Yes, I would like to speak to that. And I also want to make a correction to one of the things that Alderman Blackwell made. She apologized for bringing divisiveness to the board. I would like to correct that she absolutely did not bring divisiveness. I think she drew attention to it. And there's a big difference between being a whistleblower and being someone who is spouting some of the disgusting rhetoric that I have seen on social media, in our newspaper. So I just want to say that this is absolutely nothing to do with Alderman Blackwell. It is absolutely nothing to do with this board. We are representing 18,500 people, and there are many of them with different needs. There are many of them who don't look like us. And it is very obvious from some of the things that have happened by members of this board that there are reasons that people should be afraid to come forward to this board. And it makes me very unhappy and very disgusted. And I think just the fact that I'm I'm not happy with how this is going. And no, I would never have wished this on this board either, but that's where we are. And we are in the national spotlight, whether we like it or not. And the decisions that we make is going to be watched by this entire country. So this is not the legacy that I would have chosen for Mayor Noes, but that is exactly what we have. And this is the ball that we've been given. We got to play it where it lies. And there is no in between. There is no gray area. You have to say yes or no.
I don't agree with that. There is not always a yes and no answer. You know, there are some things, but there is not, there's gray areas and everything, you know?
I also started out my conversation saying I did not want this to be controversial, that I clearly read the board differently from what it was in August versus what it was in July. And there were changes. We had an election. I truly believe that the board in July would have passed this. I did not mean by any means to bring something controversial. And I've heard that from Dr. Blanks a couple of times now. And I do feel a bit like I'm being chided. And I understand the frustration, and I want us to get back to work, and I don't want us to be taking up time, which is why I was saying, can we find a way to move forward? And if the will of the board is not to be with the city, that is fine. I can move forward in a different way because I do think we need to move on from the subject.
I'm not chiding. I'm just saying this is what has happened. You have a country that's polarized. You have one section here, one section there. It's no different on the board. The board is the same difference as the country. You know, I would love for it not to be, but you know, you have one side that thinks one way, and then you have an election, and then you have the other side on the other side. We're no different than the country is. Are we? No. So, you know, I was hoping that that we wouldn't fall into that political polarization, but obviously we have, you know, and to have a gun put to my head and say, you have to decide one way or the other. You know, that ain't how it works on my local level, you know. And
I don't think that's what I was trying to do.
Well, Robin was the one who was saying you have to say yes or no, you know. And, you know, 4 months ago, I would have probably been, yeah, like you said, if you would have brought this up 6 months ago or a year ago, it would have passed probably. Or if it sets for another 2 years, right now it is so hot that it's just crazy. And that was my point. You know, right now it's super divisive, and I hate that. And we're better than that. And we may have to just let it chill for a while. That's why I was saying, no, I'm not chiding you. You're a new elected official, and with time you will see how things play out. You know, I'm not saying there was a good old boys network, but sometimes you have to, you know, know your room and know what's going on. And you know, this last year we've had so much controversy, and you know, and I see why. I see why you want to. Well, why we should address diversity, because there's been so many awful things happen. But you know, there's a new day dawning. You know, there's a new year coming, and with time, I think we will all get together on the same page. You know, but to have a gun stuck to your head and say you have to say yes or no right now, that just, you know, I know you want to be and have an ending point to this. I know Ray does. I do. There's nobody on this board that would like to have this settled more than any of the others. You know, it's just, you know, making it an arm of the city or not. You know, that's the sticking point right there. I mean, if I poll the board members, that's where we're stuck, probably.
Yeah.
Alderman Berry had his hand up for some time now.
Yeah.
Alderman Berry.
There's 7 of us. So I want to correct a few things. It has been said that the board was, and if I'm out of context, correct me after I'm done, that the board was read wrong and that there's not we don't see the need for diversity, and that we don't see that there are communication issues or that there are people in our community who are hurting. I strongly disagree with that. I made the motion to postpone this, and it was not because I didn't see a need in the community. It's not because I don't know that there are voices here who feel like they can't be heard. I made that motion to postpone because specifically what was given to us on that piece of paper, I didn't think passed the muster. We were asked that night to pass the bylaws and establish a diversity council. And what we're being told is that from people is that city services aren't making it to people. If that's true, then we as a board need to look in that, because what I'm being told, and when I hear that, and I take offense for our city staff, that our city is biasly providing city services. I don't believe that that's true, but I think that if it is, then we don't need a diversity council. The board of mayor and aldermen needs to stop and look into that. I'm being told that we can't communicate and we have communication issues. That's the crux of the issues there. We are the board of mayor and aldermen. We were elected to represent people. If we're not out in the community and the community doesn't feel like we're doing our job, then we need to do better, and we need to. Mr. Blanks had said it. Town halls, reaching out more. It's tough with COVID. Honestly, I'm kind of offended. There have been comments made to me that I shut down the two women of color. That's offensive to me, because I asked for clarity on the issue, and I asked for the board to take a step back on something that I think that was done in haste, that missed the target, that wasn't clearly defined. It doesn't define any problems. It's saying, let's put this out there and let's go seek out problems. That's my issue with this. I won't support this as it was given to us. I won't support. What I will support is that if there's an issue in the city, we need to do our job and step up and seek out and find it as the elected representatives who are put in our seats to do the very things that people are talking about. If we or members of the board feel like there are city services being denied to people, then we as a board need to look at that. I think that that's a big claim, and I'm offended for Jennifer. I don't think that she's doing that. I don't think that any of our city staff is doing that. I don't think, if you don't like one of us board members, there's 6 others. You may not like me, not everybody does, but a lot of the people that I'm hearing have never even attempted to reach out to me, have never called, have never had a conversation, never even tried. I waited to the end to talk, to give everybody else a chance, because I was told last time that I wasn't listening to the two people who, I guess, carried more weight. And I think that would offend.
Oh.
That should be offensive to those others as well.
So
I don't support this.
1 second.
And I think that we need to, I will take it off the table to get a up, down, yes or no vote, because I do agree that one way or another, we have to get past this. And that doesn't mean that we stop, and that doesn't mean that we don't see a need to reach out. That means that we need to come up with a plan for outreach and communication and ensuring that our services are out there. But we don't need this board to do that.
You did misquote me in a second. Let me clarify that. I was misquoted when you said that. I said that we didn't care about diversity. I said I read the room wrong, thinking it would pass. That's what I thought. I'm not saying that you guys don't care about diversity. I don't know what's in your hearts, and that's what I realized in my serenity prayer. Except the things I cannot change, I don't know what's in your hearts and minds. I don't know what you're thinking about. I'm telling you, this is what I've seen. I agree with you in terms of the equitable treatment, but this is essentially to say, hey, we're here to hear you if there isn't any. That's about it. It's supposed to be, once again, a tool for us, but I have already made this point over and over again at this point. So.
Okay, I am going to insist that we hear the people who wanted to be heard tonight at the next board meeting. At that time, we will have this discussion again as study session after we have heard from everyone else, and we will give that nod up or down as whether this council will be a part of the city or not a part of the city. This will be after we've all gotten the report from the Chairman Blanks with the minutes and the summary results. So with that, I think we have aired this about as far as we can air it tonight. Are you satisfied with that, Ms. Blackwell?
Can adjourn.
Are you satisfied with that, Dr. Blanks?
Well, to me, we're back where we started from, really. We've beat this thing to death. I could have made a motion. It's either Daniel or I that makes the motion, or whoever, or you, Ray, or Jenna, that'll make the motion to bring that up for a vote, right? Up or down, or we're going to do that.
We can't do it in this session tonight. We can't do it in the session tonight.
I know, but you're going to have we're going to get the minutes. We're going to let everybody look at that, and we're going to ratchet up the social media that I beg everybody to get off of. But, this is not going to bed quietly. If we put it off till another month, it'll be still something that we have to deal with. Other thing I would say, you look at people that are thinking about running for city office. And are we running good people away that would be good servants? I wonder that. They look at what we've been through in the last 6 weeks, and it's a hassle. It makes me nauseous and sick at my stomach. So where are we gonna find that next generation if they're looking at us and we're posting crazy things on social media, or we're wah-wah, or we can't get along? It's like, that, would you want to move here and raise a family? We got to think about that. We always talk about, you want to come back. Some of us have come back, have gone away and come back. Is this the example we want to set? So, there's a lot of stuff here. I think there's a need for this, and I think Daniel said, there's definitely that need, but it's making it part of the city. That's the what people have to get over. So, I would hate to for us to still be beating this in March.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a quick recommendation. We've spent 2.5, almost 3 months on this. What we haven't done in that time is taken any specific issues that citizens, if there's diversity council was to be formed, there has to be some specific underlying issue that the city needs to take care of. I would ask that we put this before the board, our next meeting. Let's vote one way or another and be done. And if there is a specific, Ms. Blackwell, give us a list start with 3 of those issues that the Diversity Council is putting forward that are problems the city can solve. And let's get to work actually solving some of these issues rather than talking about whether we need a committee. Because what we have yet to be presented to the board are, this is a problem to solve, this is a problem to solve, and this is a problem to solve. Let's solve problems.
Excuse me, just about. One of the things that I'm insist on is that we have allowed the people who we have committed to giving them an opportunity to speak on this subject. We told them that we would have this opportunity at next meeting. For us to make a decision prior to them being heard, I think is premature. I am as anxious to get to the end of this road as anybody, but I think unless we honor our commitment to let the people that want to be heard, give them the opportunity to be heard, then we make our decision after we hear them.
And can we ask Alderman Blackwell, can you provide us for the next board meeting 3 specific issues that the board that have been raised that are...
So in 2.5 weeks, you want me to come up with 3 more issues after having worked on this for 7 months. Is that correct?
We've been working on it for 7 months. So somewhere in there has to be a list of issues that spawned this to be created.
How
if
about
there are no issues for this to be
not
created?
feel comfortable coming to us because our members of our board say racist, bigoted things on social media, and they do not feel comfortable coming to us because of that.
So there are no issues for us to solve.
That is one issue in itself. And if you can't see that, I'm sorry. That's my point.
We can't solve that issue.
Well,
we can't solve that issue as a board.
but we can try to
As
build
a board,
bridges
we
to
cannot.
communities
Correct.
that don't feel
Correct.
heard. And
Right.
yes, I can absolutely go out there and do some more research. If I will say that is a big bite to ask of me in 2 weeks. But
Get one, let everybody, that should be something everybody on the board does, is go out and talk to the community and come back with an issue.
absolutely, I can, yes.
But, to Rupa's point about some of the stuff that's coming from this board, that's disappointing. The people of Tullahoma can vote that up or down. So, some of my advice is falling on deaf ears, but the people of Tullahoma will speak to that. So, just bide your time, and they can vote you in, they can vote you out. So if you make a horse's tail of yourself, then you have to pay the consequences.
And I think the flip side of that is
my question, so that I can give you what you were asking for. Pastor Torbert, I see that you're on there. If you can just give me a heads up if you have the time to meet with me this week so that we can come up with some stuff for Alderman Berry. Great. Sure.
I don't think that it's a terrible thing to say what are specific issues that where the city is failing that caused this to rise. And those, we need to be solving problems.
I have one. Our last ADA meeting was held in a building that was not ADA compliant. So there's one. So 2 more, Rupa. That's all you need.
And that's something that's been going around. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that meeting was held in the Planning and Codes building, correct? That building is ADA accessible. Am I incorrect there? Am I incorrect?
Jennifer, can you speak to that?
The issue, as I remember it, I was at the meeting. Costa Bryce was at the meeting, and I'll ask some others who were there. The issue that I remember is after the meeting had started, it wasn't that anyone wasn't able to access the room or the building that we were meeting in. It was that there was a chair that was too close to the doorway into the meeting room. And as we were having our discussion, somebody pointed out, that, hey, that chair could be restricting somebody's access into the room, and you guys haven't considered ADA. And we immediately moved the chair out of the means of ingress egress to the room. But I feel like since the meeting that has been a little bit manipulated to sound like the building and the meeting itself was not accessible. If somebody feels that way, then they can correct me. But this is, my memory of that meeting was it was all about a chair that was too close within the walkway to the door itself, the door to the room.
One of the other concerns I've heard from the disability community, I guess, is, and so again, I'm not always aware of the verbiage, etc. But I know people who are deaf who have said, and this is an expense.
Sign language.
Yeah, sign language, ASL. So, and the fact that our board meetings aren't, while they are on LightTube, you can closed caption them. If you don't have LightTube, you can't access them. That's another specific issue. There's been others as well. I can absolutely put a list together. I can work with Pastor Torbert and Tisha and the rest of the committee and put a tangible list together, hopefully by the next board meeting. Absolutely.
I think that would be great. I just want us to let's fix issues. And when we are talking about, I think the ADA thing was manipulated, and we need to shy away. As board members, we need to not perpetuate myths and incorrect information, and that goes for all of us, whether it's on Facebook. And to the electorate, I will never I will disagree with somebody, and I think it's okay to give an opinion and say that I do not condone one way or another, but it is not for the board to remove people. It is not for the board to collaborate to remove people. It is the job of the citizens. And we each sit in our seats because the people who got out and voted for us. And so there may be some who don't care for us. But that there are those that do. And that may change in between. I know that when I ran for alderman and when I ran for mayor, that changed. But there is a democratic process in place. And it is for the people to decide. But what I do not think is, I think it is okay for us as a board to say, I disagree with this person. Or I don't condone this language used, but say it and be done with it. I don't think that it's the job for us to continue. You say it one time and you're done. I'm going to say stupid stuff. It's just going to happen, and I'm going to say something that somebody just completely disagrees with, and it may not be. It may be perceived one way, and I'm not justifying what anybody has said here in one way or another. But what I am saying is that it becomes a slippery slope when we begin to the sways of the populace. If you disagree, you say you disagree. This is why I disagree. You move on.
Can I say something?
Yes, Sonovia.
We're all adults here, and we know what we signed up for. We know that it's a part of what we do and who we are. But we should be mature enough to agree to disagree. But the perception of the people is real. And we as a board, we appear divided within itself. So it's going to be hard for us to sway the citizens of the city to agree or disagree with anything until we can come together, because it looks like we're spending more time at each other than being about the business of the city and what we signed up for. That's the part of it that I don't like. I do enjoy being a city official, and we are here to help the people. So let's do that and stop appearing as if we're so divided that we can't sit down and have a mature discussion. That's all. That's all.
I guess I need to speak at some point during this study session. I have been very quiet and listened to everything during this board meeting. It has been somewhat hypocritical in the form of, talking about being offended, and then yet being so harsh. So I will tell you that anything that I have said that has offended anybody, I wish you would talk to me about context. I'll just repeat that. And kind of echo what Daniel said. I would like to move forward and get back to city business. I ran on a platform of limited government. That's why I cannot support the Diversity Council being a part, and that's the only reason. I'm with Mr. Hobbs. Ernie Hobbs brought up the point. We have 11 commissions, and we've got lots of diversity, and I support the Diversity Council. And I support Rupa and her endeavor in trying to put that together. And I have great respect for that. And I wish it all the success in the world outside of becoming an arm of the government. And that's what this study session was supposed to be out. I want to limit our expenditures and our tax dollars. I want to take care of our employees, and I want to support small business and be an advocate for small business. And that's what I think I would like to get back to doing, is just our city business. So thank you, guys.
Okay. We've certainly had a thorough discussion tonight, which is really not what I had intended to do. I had intended simply to hear the report from Dr. Blanks and to advise you that we'd be sending out the minutes from the study session along with summary report to be reviewed. But we've had thorough discussion. Mr. Nobius' point, yes, we appear to be divided as a board, but every one of us have an opinion as to how best to serve our citizens. For me, as mayor, I have made it very clear to Ms. Moody and anyone that asks that I insist, absolutely insist, that all the services of the city, all the resources of the city be made available to all the citizens of this community. And when I say all the services and all the resources, and when I say all the citizens, that is inclusive. I don't have to decide whether a citizen is of one gender or whether he's of one color. They're all citizens that I'm serving as a mayor. And I will insist that those services and resources be made available equally to everyone, whether or not there is a diversity council as a part of the city or whether it's independent of the city. I'll still hold to that commitment. With that, I still feel it's incumbent upon we allow the people who were so adamant about, they were disturbed because we had postponed the meeting last week and then had it scheduled for tonight when people were on travel and could not attend. So I think it's incumbent that we allow those citizens to be heard. I will insist on that. And I'll ask Ms. Moody to prepare the agenda for next meeting to allow for that to be heard. If we, and to Senobia's point about we need to be unified as a board. Yes, we need to be unified as a board, but if we have something, if we have the elephant in the room, which appears to be whether this council will be a part of the city or independent of the city, so long as that is dividing us as a board, how do you become unified? So that's the issue that we have. And to everyone that has worked on forming this council, your efforts are applauded. Whether we have it as a or not as a part of the city. That's the divisiveness right now. No one is opposed to diversity and inclusion. I insist that we treat every citizen with equal respect and equal services, equal resources, and that will remain my commitment. With that, I'd like to close the study session tonight, adjourn, and say thank everyone for their attendance and their participation until 8:15. And with having closed the session, but while you're still on, I wish every one of you a Merry Christmas, a very Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And I trust that 2021 will be a year that we can all enjoy associations with each other. Yes, I like to give everyone a hug. I can't do that anymore. I can't even touch anybody. Can't even shake hands anymore. Maybe with the vaccine out that's coming, maybe we can do that again next year. But with that, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll close the study session. Thank you for your attendance tonight.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And to each of you.